Welcome to Spoiled Vision Movie Recaps. Today, we delve into a 2022 drama, mystery, thriller series titled Reacher. Spoilers ahead. The series opens with a chilling murder committed by a psychopath named Joe Reacher. After fatally shooting the victim, the perpetrator, unsatisfied, proceeds to kick the victim multiple times. Disturbingly, the bullet casings are retrieved, the victim's body is meticulously arranged, and we are introduced to the main character, Jack Reacher, portrayed by Alan Ritchson. Jack is a former military policeman who has just arrived in the city of Margrave, Georgia, America. As Jack enters a tavern, he witnesses a man displaying anger towards his girlfriend. Unwilling to tolerate such behavior, Jack's stern gaze prompts an immediate apology from the man. Inside the shop, as Jack enjoys a cup of coffee and food, police cars surround the establishment, seemingly targeting him for arrest. Despite Jack's lack of guilt, he complies with the arrest and is taken to the police station on suspicion of murder. A policewoman named Roscoe gathers data on Jack's identity, but Jack remains tight-lipped during the interrogation. The head detective, Oscar Finlay, reads out the murder charges, citing evidence of a body found across the street. The victim, beaten after being shot with a 9mm bullet to the back of the head, proves difficult to identify due to swollen fingertips. Despite Finlay's intention to call a lawyer, Jack refuses, maintaining his innocence. Roscoe grows suspicious as she finds no trace of Jack Reacher on social media. The only records indicate that Jack's parents are deceased, and he has an older brother 2 years his senior. As a former Marine who led the 10th Special Investigation Unit of the military police, Jack, despite having killed on duty, is skeptical about being implicated in murder again. Utilizing his expertise, Jack suspects that the murders, characterized by small-caliber bullets and a psychopathic penchant for beating victims, are the work of a trio. The perpetrators use 9mm and 95-gram subsonic bullets with silencers, indicating a pattern from previous incidents. Finlay, although surprised by Jack's explanation, maintains his composure, not willing to let his pride waver. He insists that Jack matches the description of the person seen near the murder scene. Jack, however, claims he came to Margrave to learn more about Blind Black, a blues singer rumored to have died in the city. In an effort to prove Jack's innocence, Finlay examines the timeline. The victim died at midnight, and if Jack can prove he was still on the bus at that time, he'll be exonerated. The ongoing police investigation focuses on the phone number found on the victim's shoes, labeled Pluribus. The narrative shifts to teenage Jack and his sister, facing hostility when they move to a new house. Despite being kicked and pushed, they refuse to give in, choosing to fight back. In his cell, Roscoe offers Jack a cup of coffee, believing he's innocent. According to her instincts, there's no indication or evidence pointing to Jack as the murderer. Following the phone number lead, Finlay arrives at a house owned by Hubble. Strangely, Hubble confesses to the murder without knowing the victim's identity or the motive. Hubble's admission raises doubts, and he is thrown into the same cell as Jack. Taking advantage of Hubble's confession, Jack releases himself from the tied hands. While Finlay remains skeptical of Hubble's confession, Jack tries to leave, but Finlay stops him. Jack demonstrates his observational skills by deducing the relationship between Stevenson, a member of Finlay's team, and Hubble. He correctly guesses Stevenson's cousin is Hubble's wife. Jack further reads Finlay's personal details, including his stubbornness, recent Harvard graduate status, and marital issues. To confirm Jack's suspicions, Finlay calls Stevenson, who verifies that Hubble and his wife were at a party until 2 a.m., confirming Hubble's alibi and proving he was not near the crime scene. Finlay changes his approach, deciding to place Jack and Hubble in prison together to uncover the true culprit. As they arrive at the prison gate, officers greet them. Following regulations, their regular clothes are replaced with convict attire. However, Jack refuses to comply with an officer's request to open his pants, citing constitutional rights. Despite the officer's insistence, Jack stands firm, and they are placed in a cell that proves too small for Jack's stature. In the morning, Jack emerges from his cell, finding themselves in the vicinity of inmates serving life sentences. Trouble seems inevitable. 3 inmates approach, harassing Hubble for his shoes and glasses. Jack intervenes, issuing a warning, and when they disregard it, Jack takes swift and amusing action, demonstrating his physical prowess. In the prison yard, Hubble reveals his role as a financial manager forced to assist his bosses in illicit financial schemes under the threat of death. Despite the challenges, Hubble chooses to stay close to Jack, even in shared moments like using the toilet. Another confrontation arises with 5 individuals, prompting Jack to offer them a chance to leave before taking decisive action, defeating them all. Prison officials, amazed by Jack's strength, relocate them to a public area instead of the intended top floor. Meanwhile, Finlay realizes Jack was telling the truth. Attempting to reconcile, he contacts Sharon. Roscoe provides Jack's military history from Washington, D.C., revealing Jack's impressive record as a West Point graduate with numerous honors and commendations. Finlay, feeling regret for imprisoning someone of Jack's caliber, retrieves his cigarettes from his drawer in annoyance. Back at the prison, Jack, while enjoying breakfast, suspects that Spivey's officers intentionally placed them in the general population cell on orders from someone in power. Shortly thereafter, they are both released. Hubble is picked up by his wife, and Jack is picked up by the admiring policewoman, Roscoe. She shows Jack a video proving his innocence, confirming he was on the bus on the night of the murder. Despite his intention to leave the city, Jack accepts Roscoe's dinner invitation. Before that, they stop at a thrift store to buy clothes, and Jack takes a stroll in town before entering a barber shop. In the barber shop, Jack notices a suspicious car following him. The barber mentions a billionaire named Kleiner, who founded elite companies in the city and funded it through the Kleiner Foundation. Jack confronts Kleiner Jr. and his cousin Dawson, who seem aware of Jack's military background and the case. They threaten him, raising questions about their involvement in the murder and the attempt on Jack's life in prison. Back at the police headquarters, Roscoe informs Jack about another body with gunshot wounds from the same caliber bullet. Jack examines the victim and, during the autopsy results, senses something amiss. He deduces that the first victim, his older brother Joe Reacher, was allergic to latex, and the perpetrator deliberately used polyvinyl protection to avoid blood DNA detection. Jack vows to kill all those responsible for his brother's death. Finlay, still inquisitive about Jack's intentions in the city, and Jack engage in a discussion, interrupted by Roscoe. Jack promises to take matters into his own hands and investigate his brother's killers. Roscoe is assigned to supervise Jack Reacher in his pursuit of justice. Jack and Hubble return to the Hubble house to seek clues from his wife, with Jack's primary question being, why did Joe Reacher have Hubble's phone number? While pretending to need the toilet, Jack investigates the shoes room and discovers a small seed stuck to Hubble's shoes. Jack concludes that Hubble was part of the perpetrator's target, possibly on the run or caught. The agrimonia seed found in Hubble's shoes links into the murder scene where Joe Reacher was killed. They return to the murder site, and Jack describes the situation that occurred at the time. Jack deduces that one of the perpetrators was a skilled shooter, as evidenced by the accurate shot in the dark with a silencer. Jack estimates the moon's position during the incident, suggesting a connection to Joe Reacher's job in the Department of Internal Security, covering areas such as terrorism, drugs, weapons, and borders. Jack checks into a motel to rest, and Roscoe observes from a distance. 4 thugs attempt to disturb Jack, claiming they were paid by Kleiner Jr. to attack him. Jack swiftly defeats them, showcasing his abilities. That night, the 4 perpetrators of the murder are shown entering a house with special clothes. The next morning, as Jack continues his investigation, he sees a thirsty dog. Despite the owner's claim of giving the dog water, Jack notices the empty and dry dog food, raising suspicions. Jack is shocked when Roscoe informs him of Morrison's murder at his house. Upon arriving at Morrison's house, Jack suspects that the police chief's body is hanging on the wall, consistent with Hubble's claims while in prison. Morrison's gruesome death leads Jack to believe that some police officers, including Morrison, were involved in bribery with the criminals, and Morrison was killed for refusing to comply. Jack urges Finlay and Roscoe to be cautious of Stevenson and Baker's. Jack and Roscoe return to Hubble's house to check on his condition. While Roscoe stays to protect Hubble's family, Jack borrows Hubble's car to continue the investigation with Finlay. In the garage, Jack notices a bag from Axis Financial Outing Golf, but finds no weapons. The situation becomes more complicated when Mayor Teal appoints himself as the interim police chief, raising suspicions of his involvement with the criminals. Residents expressed doubts about the mayor's integrity and questioned Jack's arrival in the city. Kleiner, a prominent businessman, denies Jack's involvement, claiming that he has invested money to rebuild the city and pledges more to help solve the case. Despite Kleiner's denial, Jack remains suspicious, as individuals with power and wealth are often not as clean-hearted as they appear. Finlay seeks permission to investigate the serial murder case and find patterns used by the perpetrator. Mayor Teal downplays the connection between Morrison's murder and the other killings, directing Finlay to examine old files on criminals previously arrested, released, or paroled by Morrison. Jack believes that investigating individuals with money and power, such as Kleiner, is crucial in solving the case. In front of the police chief, Finlay and Roscoe maintain their public roles while secretly collaborating to investigate the mastermind behind the crimes. To protect the Hubble family, Finlay plans to seek assistance from his friend Picard, an FBI agent based in Atlanta. Despite the pressure from the mayor and warnings to leave Margrave, Jack is determined to catch his brother's killer. After buying a cell phone, Jack receives information from Mosley, the barber, about two Spaniards looking for him. At the Hubble house, Jack urges Charlin to move to a safer location with the protection of Picard, the FBI agent. Jack suspects that Hubble has become a target since his time in prison. Recalling childhood memories with Joe, Jack encounters a suspicious car near the Hubble house and rushes Charlin to leave. However, the mysterious figure turns out to be Picard, who is there to protect Charlin and her children. Jack continues his investigation by planning to meet the prison guard Spivey, a key figure in the case. Jack poses as Finlay and invites Spivey to meet at the Blue Cat, claiming to sue him for prison beating. Spivey, suspicious of the setup, prepares a counter trap. Two gunmen confront Jack, and a scuffle ensues. Jack manages to fight off the attackers, and a police officer arrives to arrest them. Returning to the police station for treatment, Jack suspects that the gunmen may be military or ex-military from South America. Given their use of Spanish and a Glock 17 pistol, known as the King's signature pistol, Roscoe receives information that Joe Reacher worked for a secret division. Finlay accuses Hubble of counterfeiting because of his expertise in currency management, linking all crimes related to drugs, weapons, and human trafficking to money. Jack, recovering from a scuffle, plans to resume his investigation by searching Spivey's house. Finlay insists on handling the task and asks Jack to return to his motel, prompting Roscoe to persuade him. Roscoe invites Jack to a cafe in Alabama for relaxation. They become more familiar with each other and share a dance. Due to heavy rain, they decide to stay at a motel. During their stay, they confide in each other, with Roscoe revealing her upbringing by her father's friend, Gray, a police officer who taught her the ropes. Gray's unexpected suicide, a year ago, deeply affected Roscoe. In the morning, Jack accompanies Roscoe home, only to find her door open and signs of forced entry. The criminals have targeted Roscoe, and Jack, recognizing the seriousness, realizes the need for a weapon. Upset and angry, Roscoe, despite her law enforcement background, is not afraid of the criminals. At Jack's request, she shows him a gun given to her by Gray. Jack tries the weapon before they leave. At the morgue, they learn that the victim, Pete Jobling, a truck driver for South Freight, had high levels of hydrogen sulfide in his blood. Despite a clean criminal record, an elite law firm, Zacharias Perez LLP, becomes involved in the case, raising suspicions. The investigation takes a more complex turn with the unexpected legal assistance for the victim. Shortly after, Roscoe receives a call from Molly Beth Gordon, a Secret Service Administration employee based in Washington, D.C. Upon hearing Jack's voice, she initially mistakes him for Joe, her colleague and lover. When Molly learns of Joe's death, she can't hold back her tears. Joe held the position of director of the investigation division and head of the anti-counterfeiting section. He successfully implemented procedures that stopped many cases of domestic counterfeiting, with a focus on international cases. Jack seeks Molly's help to manually print the case files, fearing that digital files could be compromised. He emphasizes that, regardless of the crimes committed, the perpetrator's ultimate goal is money. Considering Hubble's role as the currency manager of Axis Financial in Atlanta, Jack is determined to get to the bottom of the case. Finlay plans to investigate casually after hours, avoiding the need for a court order. He goes to Spivy's house while Roscoe returns to base to investigate the ex-convict linked to Morrison's death. At headquarters, Roscoe faces suspicions from the new chief and decides to investigate the rented car the perpetrators might have used. Meanwhile, Jack is assigned to meet Zacharias Perez to gather information on cases related to jobbling. At Perez's office, Jack demands a traffic violation file committed by Pete Jobling. Perez initially refuses, but Jack threatens to destroy his life with one phone call. Ultimately, Jack manages to obtain the file. At the same time, Finlay is released from the Elton police detention cell after they realize they caught the wrong person. With blood still flowing from his nostrils, Finlay looks annoyed at the two policemen who beat him. Roscoe, coming to his aid, vents her anger on them, mistaking Finlay for a thief. Finlay thanks Roscoe for defending him but condemns their actions as a sign of weak minds and character. The trio reconvenes at a diner to discuss their findings. Jack discovers that the boss of the deceased truck driver was contracted by Kleiner Industries, leading to questions about why Kleiner paid attorney fees for the driver. Finlay suspects a connection between Spivy's communication with Kleiner and potential involvement in counterfeiting by Kleiner Industries. Jack proposes an illegal break-in at Kleiner Industries to gather evidence, leading to a disagreement with Finlay. Roscoe intervenes to mediate, and after reconciling, they decide to continue the investigation. During their journey, Jack takes a moment to feed a neglected dog. The owner appears and admits that the dog belonged to his deceased uncle, forcing him to care for it. When the man kicks Jack out, Finlay supports Jack's actions by threatening a fine for neglecting animals. Arriving at Kleiner Industries, they notice a lack of CCTV cameras and workers moving large amounts of animal feed. They are guided to meet Mr. Kleiner, and in the lobby, Jack observes displays of preserved animal heads, concluding that the Kleiners are avid hunters. During the meeting with Kleiner, Finlay questions the phone call Spivey made to the office and the relationship with Pete Jobling, the deceased truck driver. Kleiner dismisses Pete as an ordinary driver, claiming responsibility for providing legal protection to workers. Finlay is not satisfied with the answer, suspecting that Spivey may have friends in the company. Kleiner, feeling insulted, mocks Finlay's education and suggests closing the case to avoid further trouble. Frustrated with Kleiner's interference, Finlay threatens him with violence if he continues to dictate the investigation process. Jack, amused by Finlay's aggression, supports his stance. As they leave, Jack recalls a similar situation when soldiers investigated a case involving Jack beating a teenager, Curtis Bishop, who bullied younger children. Joe claimed responsibility to protect Jack, an act of love mirrored in Roscoe's dedication to Jack. Finlay decides to leave his house for a safer location, fearing a fate similar to Morrison's. When Roscoe visits Finlay's house, Jack questions the excessive food stock delivered to Kleiner Industries compared to the number of cows they have. Roscoe finds it reasonable, considering that many Georgia residents own cows. They plan to stay at a motel to avoid threats from dangerous criminals, and Jack intends to find Spivey or clues to his whereabouts. Meanwhile, Roscoe encounters Kleiner Jr., who follows her to express his distrust of Jack due to alleged past incidents in Baghdad. Claiming that Jack is a murderer, Kleiner Jr. insists he will protect Roscoe, but she ignores his warnings and leaves. During the night, Finlay assumes a false identity, Steve, and meets a high-ranking Axis Financial employee to gather information about Hubbell's work. The woman reveals that Hubbell left without notice a year ago, and the currency division was disbanded. Axis Financial no longer conducts currency operations. Relaxing at a bar, Finlay attracts the attention of a woman who tries to approach him. Although divorced, Finlay admits he can't let go of his love for his ex-wife, feeling he's not the right person for the woman approaching him. Jack enters the Blue Cat seeking information on Spivey's whereabouts. A burly former boxer claims to be a friend of Spivey, but refuses to disclose his location. Jack teaches him a lesson without resistance and learns that Spivey was taken by the Spaniards. As Jack leaves, he notices a suspicious car following him. Jack, prepared with gloves, later confronts the Spanish men in a deserted location, shooting them dead while concealing his fingerprints. Jack puts the bodies of the assassins in the trunk, alongside Spivey's body. Due to limited space, he breaks their legs to fit them. Finlay contacts Jack about a burnt car, suspected to be his brother's SUV. Unable to identify it due to the lack of police license plates, Jack uses military tricks with ketchup containing acetic acid, salt, and other contents to clean the metal frame number. Finlay plans to involve Picard for faster identification. Jack recounts the assault by the South Americans, justifying it as self-defense. With Roscoe's help, they dispose of the bodies to avoid a state police investigation. Roscoe notes that Jack shot the men from behind, contrary to what he told Finlay. She questions Jack about Kleiner Jr.'s comments and demands to know what really happened in Baghdad. Jack recalls an incident when he encountered 3 men harassing local children playing football in a former hangar. He gave them the choice to surrender to the police or face punishment, and that night, Jack shot all 3 of them dead. Jack suspects that Kleiner uses his money to buy access and information for a mysterious purpose. The bodies are left at the airport after destroying CCTV cameras and deceiving officers. Jack and Mosley order a luxurious hotel room, and Molly contacts Jack to inform him that she's preparing the files he requested. To avoid enemy tracking, Roscoe suggests Molly take the train to the 5-Point station the next afternoon. Molly reveals her close contact with Joe for 2 years, and Joe spoke highly of Jack to his colleagues. In the morning, they focus on investigating Pete Jobling's house, which turns out to be his parents' house. They learn that Pete Jr. lives in Brookhaven with his wife and deliberately lie to avoid showing emotional vulnerability. Jack's pensive mood over Joe's death continues, and Finlay is summoned by the police chief due to Kleiner's disturbance. The mayor warns Finlay about threatening Kleiner, emphasizing Kleiner's respected status in the city. The mayor's warning adds another layer of complexity to their investigation. Finlay, not fired but assigned to investigate ex-convicts with grudges against Morrison, must get Teal's approval for his actions. Picard contacts Finlay in coded language, and Finlay asks about Hubble's family's safety. Picard gives his gun to Christie to prevent any issues. Jack and Roscoe arrive at Pete Jobling's house, and they learn about Jobling's involvement with Kleiner Industries in Miami. Jack suspects Jobling is handling counterfeit money for Kleiner. According to Jack's theory, the money is produced in South America, sent to Florida, and then brought back to Margrave with the real air conditioner. At the meeting point, Picard informs them about the burning car belonging to a rental company with Ron Hassey as the tenant, a name Joe used. Jack memorizes the motel address given by Picard and disposes of the paper to avoid tracking. When they reach the motel, they find Joe's bag missing, but Jack discovers a piece of clothing with a clue intentionally left by Joe in a trash can. A note mentioning Jobling's garage and Kleiner Gray's file. Unexpectedly, Jack and Roscoe are attacked, and they get scattered. The assassins chase Jack, and he manages to kill one while trapping another after a car gets stuck. The pursuit continues. The unfolding events reveal a complex web of intrigue and danger in Margrave. In a fierce fight, Jack is mugged again, but Roscoe shoots the second assailant. Disappointed and worried, Roscoe slaps Jack, who intentionally diverted their attention to chase after him out of concern for her. Finlay suspects a leak in their location, considering possibilities like Stevenson or Kleiner having someone keep an eye on them. Jack discovers surveillance equipment in Spivey's car, suggesting the use of a satellite dish microphone. Roscoe, however, still doesn't believe that Stevenson is corrupt. Jack recalls a past incident where he was reported for hitting a general's child, leading to repercussions for their father. Joe, however, advised Jack to remain silent. Now, they need to decipher the clues found from Joe's clothes, labeled E pluribus unum. Initials and phone numbers, including PH, Paul Hubble, WB, William Bryant, and SC, Stephanie Castillo, are written on the paper. Jack led an investigation with the Air National Guard in Memphis, prompting him to investigate the agency. They divide the task of calling the listed phone numbers, with Jack contacting the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, and Roscoe finding a lead on WBNSC, who are economics lecturers returning from a conference in 3 days. Jack contacts Needley, a trusted former employee, to investigate the EPA office in Memphis with the initials JGV. Meanwhile, they go to the train station to pick up Molly, but she disappears within seconds. Jack finds Molly's bag empty in the rail area and traces blood-covered Molly along the rails. The plot thickens as the investigation delves deeper into the mysterious events in Margrave. With the loss of Molly, a vital clue in uncovering the organized crime behind counterfeiting money seems lost. The team, led by Jack Reacher, continues its investigation. The counterfeit mafia is revealed to be highly organized, capable of tracking down and eliminating informants. The conclusion drawn is that corruption has infiltrated not only the Margrave police, but also the Atlanta, Georgia police, and even federal agencies. Amidst the investigation, they encounter a situation involving a mistreated dog, and Jack, Finlay, and Roscoe work together to rescue the animal. The team's cohesiveness surprises Roscoe, given their history of frequent disagreements. They decide to send the dog to a shelter. After this, Jack heads to Hubbell's house to acquire a new car. The previous vehicle, used during confrontations, is riddled with bullet holes. During his visit to Kleiner's ranch, Jack wonders about the excessive purchase of cattle feed and finds seeds similar to those in Hubbell's shoes, indicating that Hubbell had visited the ranch. Back at the police station, Jack notices Roscoe cleaning her vandalized car. Jack then plans an attack on Kleiner Jr., who insulted Roscoe. A confrontation ensues, with Jack easily overpowering KJ. Finlay and Roscoe, arriving later, draw their pistols. Kleiner intervenes, attempting to order Jack's expulsion from the town, but Finlay refuses to follow orders from someone who is not his boss. Roscoe takes Jack outside, and a resident testifies in favor of Jack, acknowledging his actions were in defense of Roscoe. The tension rises as the investigation into counterfeiting becomes increasingly dangerous and complex. The plot thickens as Roscoe faces repercussions, getting fired by Teal due to suspicions surrounding Joe's car license plate. Despite Jack's confrontation with Kleiner Jr., the lack of a trial prevents a deeper investigation into Kleiner Industries. Jack, waiting for the return of the lecturers from Europe, decides to investigate further. He revisits the box of weapons given by Gray and discovers a hidden mini drawer containing a key. This key leads him to Mosley's barbershop, where Gray often visited. Mosley had kept a large box entrusted to him by Gray. Jack and Roscoe speculate about the purpose of Kleiner's large cattle ranch, suspecting it may be a cover for covert activities. Jack's assessment reveals that Kleiner deliberately owns 116 cows to avoid government inspection, and the excessive feed raises questions. Gray's meticulous records suggest financial irregularities, with money spent not matching the income stream. Kleiner's extensive bribery in Margrave is uncovered, but the motive behind making Margrave the business center remains unclear. The team contemplates why Kleiner destroys evidence and kills secret agents. Finlay suggests that the Coast Guard blockade disrupted the flow of counterfeit money to America, leaving a backlog of overseas assets vulnerable. They suspect Kleiner aims to use the money for something dangerous or to disrupt economies, such as in Panama, a global trade center. As the investigation delves deeper, the motives behind Kleiner's actions and the broader conspiracy become increasingly complex and sinister. In a shocking revelation from Gray's diaries, Roscoe discovers evidence that her adoptive father was murdered rather than having committed suicide, as she had believed. The childhood incident involving Jack and Joe, accompanied by their parents to apologize to the general's son, resurfaces. While Joe apologizes, Jack refuses, asserting that Curtis deserved a harsher punishment. Neagley contacts Jack, using a coded message "Wanna have dinner at 22, which actually means dinner at 18 and signals the need for caution. Jack heads to Memphis to meet Neagley, relying on his own tricks to locate her. Neagley, with 10 years of experience as a general investigator, anticipates Jack's thought process and surprises him by staying in a 5-star hotel, deviating from his expectations. As they walk in a city park, Jack expresses concern about potential surveillance with parabolic microphones. Neagley provides crucial information that the initials JD on Joe's list refer to EPA investigator Jimmy Dupree Wilkes, who was shot and killed at his home. The FBI initially considered it an ordinary failed robbery with a subsonic 9mm weapon, but the victim's body was inexplicably beaten afterward, mirroring Joe's case. The FBI took over the investigation from Memphis policeman Aucoin, who initially handled Wilkes' murder case. Neagley and Jack plan to meet an informant who might have information about the mastermind behind Wilkes' murder. The case is linked to toxic pollution levels in Mississippi, and Neagley warns Jack about the ruthless mafia connections involved. Meanwhile, Roscoe asks Jack to show a photo of Gray's body, aiming to verify the circumstances of his death, initially ruled as a suicide. The unfolding mysteries deepen, connecting Joe's case with a broader conspiracy involving environmental issues and organized crime. The investigation takes a dark turn as Roscoe suspects foul play in her adoptive father's death, recognizing a diamond pattern of wounds on his head. Jack and Neagley meet an informant who links water pollution to the now disbanded Clarin Chemical, revealing its connection to Kleiner Industries. The suspicion deepens as they uncover Kleiner's involvement in environmental crimes. They confront corrupt policeman Aucoin, and Roscoe delivers a punch to his face with the diamond stick she always carries. Finlay, shocked by Roscoe's actions, takes her out of town for safety. Jack and Neagley plan to meet an informant nicknamed Viking to unveil the involvement of federal agents in the conspiracy. Teal orders Roscoe's arrest, forcing her to stay in a motel outside town while Finlay takes care of Charlie and the kids. Roscoe expresses her desire for Jack to be by her side during this challenging time. Neagley understands the unspoken connection between Jack and Roscoe. During a meeting with Aucoin and his partner Ribidou, an unexpected betrayal occurs when Ribidou turns his gun on Aucoin. In the ensuing chaos, Ribidou accidentally kills his own friend. Jack and Neagley escape by plunging their car into a river, emerging safely with wet clothes they find in a trash can. Jack decides to return to Margrave, while Neagley continues her investigation in Memphis to uncover the identity of the elusive Viking. Simultaneously, Finlay infiltrates Kleiner Industries only to discover Kleiner dead in his chair, covered in blood. The shocking revelation indicates that Kleiner was not the mastermind behind the criminal empire, leaving the true puppeteer yet to be unveiled. The mystery deepens, and Jack and his team find themselves entangled in a complex web of crime and corruption. As they delve deeper into the investigation, the discovery of Kleiner's death takes them by surprise. Jack identifies the method of death as the Venezuelan butterfly, indicating potential involvement of Venezuelans in the crime. The complexity of the case becomes evident, and Jack and Finlay realize that Kleiner may not be the ultimate mastermind behind the criminal empire they are up against. Finlay is ordered by Teal to focus on investigating Kleiner's murder, temporarily setting aside the Morrison case. Kleiner Jr., feeling threatened, attempts to attack Finlay, but Finlay shows restraint and forgives him under the circumstances. The mayor revises his decision and grants Finlay leave to investigate the murder. Meanwhile, Jack visits a repair shop to fix his car window and strikes a deal with the owner. While waiting for Jack, Finlay gifts some tomatoes to Mosley, inquiring about Mosley's reasons for staying in Margrave amidst the ongoing serial killings. Mosley, born and rooted in the town, chooses to live and die there, posing a counter-question about why a Harvard graduate like Finlay would choose to work in a small town like Margrave. At the safe house, Picard leaves Roscoe in charge of looking after Charlie and the children, emphasizing security and rescue procedures. From a vantage point on a hill, Jack and Finlay conduct reconnaissance of Kleiner's factory. During their interaction, Jack shares his military past, revealing that he once led a special investigation unit with 9 personnel during his time in the 110 Army. Despite the success of their missions, Jack lost contact with his colleagues after leaving the Marines. The conversation sheds light on Jack's intricate background and sets the stage for further revelations in their pursuit of the truth. As the investigation continues, Finlay opens up about his personal life. Contrary to Jack's assumption, Finlay is not divorced but lost his wife to illness. He prefers not to seek pity from others and is known for his stubborn and angry demeanor. Finlay's dedication to his job and his seemingly harsh personality stem from a sense of penance for failing to save his wife. The memories of Boston hold a special place for Finlay, particularly the moments spent paying the phone bill to hear his wife's voicemail. Jack gains insights into Finlay's motivations and the reasons behind his chosen lifestyle, which involves living above a tobacco shop and attempting to quit smoking. Meanwhile, Jack and Finlay observe Kleiner's nephew engaging in suspicious activity, leading them to suspect that he might be involved in transporting counterfeit money. At the safe house, Roscoe shares her tragic childhood experience of losing her parents in an accident. As she notices a flashing flashlight outside, Roscoe becomes alert to the possibility of being watched. Roscoe instructs Charlie and the children on what to do if she screams, while Finlay and Jack pursue the truck carrying counterfeit money into Tennessee. Roscoe faces an attempt by two assassins to ambush her, leading to a gun battle. Despite being discovered, Roscoe manages to thwart the attackers, preventing a potentially lethal situation. At a motel, Finlay and Jack inspect the truck during the night, finding it empty. Concerned about the missing lecturers, Jack contacts Professor William Bryant, only to learn that he has been killed. Jack then reaches out to the second lecturer, Professor Castillo, urging her to follow his lead if she wants to stay alive. The unfolding events intensify the urgency of the investigation as they delve deeper into the criminal network. In the morning, Roscoe brings Charlie and her two children to meet Picard in town, and she tends to the sprained foot of Charlie's daughter. During this time, Jack plans to meet Professor Castillo in a secure location. Roscoe arrives at a tavern where she treats Charlie's daughter's foot with ice cubes. Here, she reveals to Charlie that her husband, Hubble, had lied about leaving Axis Financial more than a year ago. Charlie, surprisingly calm, had already known about Hubble's involvement with Kleiner, but kept it a secret to protect her family. Hubble, enticed by Kleiner, had been invited to Venezuela to study currency operations. His successful performance in moving currency led to Kleiner offering him a significantly higher salary, a year-end bonus, and a ranch with champion horses. However, Kleiner eventually disclosed the illegal nature of the operations, revealing that Hubble had been unknowingly assisting in money laundering and counterfeiting schemes. Hubble, now realizing the gravity of his situation, was coerced into following Kleiner's orders under the threat of imprisonment. Hubble was confined in a stable, witnessing the brutality of Kleiner's methods, including the beheading and castration of a man who defied Kleiner's orders. This revelation solidifies Roscoe's understanding of Kleiner's malevolent nature. Shortly after this revelation, Picard arrives to pick them up. Roscoe is surprised that the enemies could detect the location of their hideout. Meanwhile, Jack, traveling by taxi, continues to decipher the clues left by Joe. The mention of Jobling's garage and Kleiner Gray's file becomes a crucial sign for Jack. As Jack engages in conversation with the Spanish-speaking taxi driver, he realizes that the driver is unaware that Jack understands the language, creating a tense situation. Jack, now in a suit that fits his size, enters the police station, carefully observing the officers to find someone trustworthy. He notices the arrogance and corruption among some officers, but eventually identifies a suitable target. A policeman named Diaz. Pretending to be a lawyer, Jack claims to represent Stefani Castillo, who is under protection due to threats on her life. Diaz allows Jack to meet Professor Castillo, who reveals that she has worked with Joe in recent years. Joe sought the expertise of the two lecturers, including Castillo, in matters related to international and domestic monetary policy. The crime they were dealing with involved counterfeiting on a global economic scale, particularly affecting the underground economy involved in drugs, weapons, and human trafficking. As 80% of the existing American currency is in $100 bills, these bills are a prime target for counterfeiters. The lecturer explains that the U.S. currency's stability makes it a reserve against other currencies, making it a crucial target for counterfeiters. The lecturer describes the challenges of counterfeiting the $100 bill, mentioning features like holograms and die safety that deter forgery. However, determined and talented perpetrators can still replicate these features. Joe discovered that a company in Georgia was recklessly producing the special paper for American money, and this revelation leads Jack to realize that Kleiner Industries is involved in producing counterfeit notes sent to Venezuela. The scope and organization of this criminal operation become clearer, and Jack is determined to uncover the truth. Jack, having revealed his true identity to Sergeant Diaz, requests protection for Professor Castillo, emphasizing the danger she faces in the unfolding case. Diaz, a former Army first lieutenant, agrees to protect her. Jack leaves the police station, realizing that he is being followed. He lures the pursuer into a deserted alley and engages in a fight, during which Jack's stomach is cut by the perpetrator's knife. Despite the injury, Jack emerges victorious, showcasing the skills and tenacity of a retired Marine. The narrative shifts to Stevenson and his wife, who are at home. The ongoing serial murder case instills fear in Stevenson's wife, prompting her to urge Stevenson to leave the city. Unbeknownst to them, 4 assassins, recognizable by their trademark clothes, arrive to kill them. The scene transitions to Atlanta Airport in Georgia, where Jack wears a shirt with a humorous message about his son flying to New York. This triggers a memory of Jack and his brother being transferred to Germany during their childhood. Jack reflects on the individualistic nature of the German people and recalls his loving and wise mother, contrasting his problem-solving brother Joe with his own physical strength. Finlay arrives to pick up Jack, who has gathered crucial information from Professor Castillo. The narrative briefly touches on Kleiner's funeral, where Finlay pays respects despite Kleiner being a victim and part of a larger criminal organization. The story continues to unravel the complexities of the case, with Jack determined to confront the mastermind behind the criminal activities. In a tense confrontation, Kleiner Jr. accuses Finlay of being responsible for his uncle's death, but Finlay counters the threat, warning Kleiner Jr. that there could be 2 Kleiners in the grave if he doesn't back down. Finlay and Jack then head to the garage, where they notice a worker dealing with oil spills. News arrives about the vicious deaths of Stevenson and his wife, reminiscent of Morrison's fate. Jack observes that, although the killers might be the same, the message is different, indicating a sinister plan against those connected to Finlay and his team. Jack hatches a plan to test Baker, the last remaining police officer in Margrave who he considers a potential suspect. Pretending to trust Baker more than the others, Jack orchestrates a lunch meeting, trying to trap him. Jack accuses Finlay of being the serial killer, alleging his involvement in the murders. Jack plays this role to gather evidence and test Baker's reactions. The narrative takes a dramatic turn as Jack prepares for a confrontation at Hubbell's house during stormy weather. Expecting an attack from Dawson and his men, Jack equips himself with military gear, including armor and weapons. As Dawson and his crew arrive, Jack engages in a deadly encounter, using his military skills and Rambo-like tactics to subdue the attackers. The intense situation unfolds as Jack faces the remaining threats posed by Dawson and his accomplice. In a deadly and brutal encounter, Jack faces off against Dawson, and a fierce fight ensues. Dawson launches a brutal attack, resulting in a struggle that throws Jack and his gun into a pool. For a moment, it seems Jack might drown, but he regains consciousness and manages to retrieve his gun. Eventually, Jack prevails and kills Dawson, marking a significant development in the serial murder case. However, the true mastermind behind the killings and the extensive network supporting the criminal activity remain elusive. With Professor Castillo's insights, Jack contacts Roscoe to share the information. The key to the crime lies in paper manipulation, and Joe's efforts to uncover the paper source have been fruitless so far. Hubbell's role in the operation is revealed. He provides Kleiner with $1 banknotes, sourced from various money-intensive industries and then reprocessed into counterfeit $100 bills. The criminals use a cow farm as a cover for their counterfeiting operations, with animal feed reprocessed to become a cleaning agent for chemical waste. The counterfeiting process involves washing and reprinting old version bills, predating the 1990s, which lacked modern magnetic protections. The counterfeit money is sent from Margrave to Florida and then to Venezuela. The goal now is to find strong evidence linking Kleiner Industries to the counterfeiting scheme. With the case unfolding, Jack contacts Finlay, who is in danger as 3 hitmen appear to be hunting him. Jack instructs Finlay to escape and provides guidance on how to evade the assailants. Finlay describes his surroundings, and Jack deduces that the dividing wall in Finlay's hotel room is likely made of thin panels of Albasian plywood. Armed and ready, Finlay follows Jack's instructions to break through the wall into the adjacent room. The narrative builds anticipation as Jack and Finlay work together to uncover the truth and confront the criminal network behind the counterfeiting operation. With Jack's assistance, Finlay successfully evades an assassination attempt on his life. They head to Jobling's house, only to discover that it has been burned down, clearly an attempt to destroy potentially incriminating evidence. As they investigate further, Jack realizes that the significance of Joe's letter is linked to Pete Jobling Sr., Pete Jobling's parents. In the garage, they find a box with a Kleiner stamp containing a $1 million counterfeit note, providing crucial evidence. Jack instructs Finlay to call Picard and arrange a meeting at the ranch house where the Jaguar is kept. The evidence they have uncovered could bring down the Kleiner Foundation and Mayor Teal. Jack plans to take this money to Bentley. While en route, he receives important information from Neagley regarding a shooting case involving an EPA agent handled by an FBI agent named Nitmo. Neagley discovers that Nitmo, nicknamed Viking, had died 3 years ago from cancer. Picard, an old colleague of Nitmo, is still active in the FBI and is connected to the Mafia, joining Kleiner Jr. and Mayor Teal. The revelation unfolds that the 3 main perpetrators behind the international money counterfeiting operation are Kleiner Jr., Mayor Teal, and FBI agent Picard. Picard, willing to compromise his law enforcement profession for financial gain, is a significant player in this criminal network. Kleiner then presents a video showing hostages, including Roscoe, Charlie, and her children. Kleiner demands Jack's cooperation and tasks him with bringing Paul Hubble to them. It is disclosed that Kleiner Jr., not Venezuelans, was responsible for the death of Senior Kleiner, as he believed his father was too afraid to protect the criminal enterprise. Furthermore, Kleiner hired Picard's associates for various assassinations, including those of EPA agents in Memphis, Pete Jobling, and Joe's girlfriend on the subway. Jack realizes that Kleiner is not only a counterfeiter but also a psychopathic serial killer who murdered the head of the police, Morrison, among others. Despite his fury, Jack attempts to control his emotions as he unravels the depths of Kleiner's depravity. The narrative intensifies as the true extent of the criminal conspiracy becomes clear, with Kleiner at the center of the web of deceit and violence. As the narrative unfolds, it is revealed that Kleiner Jr. has exhibited signs of mental instability since childhood, and his father, Kleiner Sr., has struggled to control his son's increasingly barbaric actions. Despite Kleiner Sr.'s attempts to send his son to a mental hospital, Kleiner Jr. has resisted, becoming increasingly unhinged over time. Meanwhile, Mayor Teal concocts a plan to shift blame onto the Reacher brothers, Joe and Jack, suggesting their involvement in illegal drug and weapons distribution. Teal also orchestrates bribery among local police officers to create chaos within the police force. Picard is intended to escort Jack during criminal activities. Jack, aware of Picard's potential betrayal, takes advantage of a situation at a diner to disarm Picard and damage his car tires. In the subsequent confrontation, Picard is shot, seemingly disappearing into a bushy area. Jack continues his journey, using Google Maps to find a motel near the Augusta bus terminal. As Jack pursues Hubble's location, the scene shifts to Kleiner Industries, where criminals are engaged in the production of counterfeit American dollar bills. Mayor Teal oversees the situation, having Charlie's children confined to a room as leverage for their sinister plan. The tension rises as the characters navigate the intricate web of deception, crime, and personal vendettas. The narrative intensifies as Jack employs his deductive skills to locate Hubble, predicting that Hubble, in an attempt to remain inconspicuous, would use cash and stay in a budget hotel under an alias, adopting the name Harrison after the Beatles' hobby. Arriving at Hubble's house, Jack informs him of the aftermath of the recent battle, motivating Hubble to join forces and help recover the truck used by Dawson. Simultaneously, back at the police station, Finlay and Baker gear up for a crucial confrontation with the criminals, with Baker confiscating Finlay's cell phone. The message, "Lay down and take cover," ominously foreshadows the fate of a corrupt police officer who is later revealed to have died after being hit by a car. Finlay, Neagley, and others prepare for the imminent showdown with the criminals. As night falls, the team, now joined by Hubble, gathers at Mosley's house. Hubble's extensive knowledge of Kleiner Industries proves invaluable as they strategize and plan their assault. Jack identifies a potential location where Roscoe and Charlie might be held hostage, and the team sets out to rescue them. Executing a well-coordinated attack, Neagley takes the role of a sniper, providing cover from a distance. Jack, Finlay, and Hubble engage in close-range combat, leading to a climactic confrontation. Gasoline is strategically spilled, and Finlay lights a cigarette, symbolizing a readiness to face death if necessary. The subsequent explosion shocks Kleiner Jr. and his men, initiating a fierce shootout. neatly positioned strategically, takes out enemies from a distance, while Jack and Finlay engage in hand-to-hand combat. Hubble, armed with a gun, actively contributes to the battle. The mission succeeds as Hubble rescues his children, and Jack frees Roscoe and Charlie from their restraints. The narrative is reaching its climax as the characters navigate the perilous confrontation with Kleiner Jr. and his criminal associates. The narrative reaches its climax as Finlay confronts his former friend Picard in a fierce battle, finally succeeding in taking down the corrupt federal agent. Simultaneously, Roscoe pursues Mayor Teal, seeking revenge for her adoptive father's murder, and successfully eliminates the corrupt mayor. The team manages to escape the counterfeit money factory, leaving Jack to face his biggest adversary, Kleiner Jr. In a strategic move, Jack distracts Kleiner Jr. by unwrapping fodder, seizing the opportunity to attack him from behind. After a fierce battle, Jack successfully defeats and burns Kleiner Jr., causing a significant explosion. Fortunately, Jack emerges unscathed and is greeted by his girlfriend, Roscoe. Following a night of intimacy, Jack reflects on his past. He recalls a poignant moment with his mother in Germany when she refused medical treatment, cherishing the joy of witnessing her sons grow into good individuals. In her final moments, she revealed that it was Jack who had hit Curtis during their teenage years, and Joe had taken the blame to protect his younger brother. Before her death, she presented Jack with a war medal from their grandfather as a symbol of courage in doing what is right, marking an emotional moment where Jack sheds tears for the first time. As the story concludes, Jack and Roscoe have a final conversation in downtown Margrave. Knowing that the Central Police and the FBI will soon arrive to question him, Jack decides to disappear and wander, while Roscoe opts to stay and rebuild her hometown. The narrative comes full circle, leading the characters to face the aftermath of the intense events that unfolded in Margrave. In the concluding chapters, Jack provides Roscoe with her personal phone number and suggests that she run for mayor, a proposition to which Roscoe agrees. Following this decision, Jack and Roscoe share another intimate moment. Meanwhile, Finlay decides to adopt a dog that Jack had rescued. The two friends, who have faced numerous challenges together, agree to leave the city, but their enduring friendship remains unbroken. Finlay plans to return to Boston to rebuild his life, honoring the wishes of his late wife. The dog Finlay adopts is named Jack, creating a symbolic connection between the friends. As they part ways, Finlay takes Jack the dog with him. In a more light-hearted moment, Jack finally gets to savor a peach pie cake, although he finds it to be only mediocre. The war medal that Jack received from his mother, and later buried near where Joe's body was found, serves as a poignant reminder of their shared history. With the medal in its final resting place, Jack resumes his wandering lifestyle, leaving the city and embarking on new adventures. The narrative concludes with a sense of closure for the characters, each moving forward on their respective paths. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notification for more movie recaps.